How are you doing, Jen?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Empowered Me podcast. We have a special guest here today, Miss Jen, good friend. I'm getting to know her better. And she has some stories. We're sharing stories of women who have gone through different array and various of experience and obstacles. And today, Jen is going to share hers. So, Jen, you're having a good day, bad day? Before we start, what kind of a day is it? Mixed? Mixed. Good. Mixed day. So what I wanted to do is start to ask you, as you are comfortable, what's an experience that you've gone through? Maybe have completely healed, partially healed, still working on it, wherever you are at, that you're willing to share, that you can share with somebody else so we can hear how we use tools and go through obstacles and experience in everyday life.
Sure. Well, there's a whole collection of things that I've definitely learned a lot from. But I think for here and now, the thing that when someone asks, especially like obstacles that you've overcome or that you're healing from, or the thing I think about in terms of healing is a widespread collection of family sicknesses. At the moment, my mom is living with stage 4 terminal cancer. It started as stage 2 back at the end of 2019. It was breast cancer. She had a mastectomy. But a couple of months later, we found out that it spread to her spine. And so now it's spinal cancer. And in recent weeks, we found out it's also now spread to her lungs. And so this is usually how this thing goes. These are just stages that we go through. But we weren't estimated to have very long with her at the end of 2019 when it was apparent that it had become spinal cancer. And how many years later, we're still all here, which is amazing. And so in terms of obstacles to overcome, when I spoke to my family about whether or not I could talk about this, one of the things that my dad said is like, I don't like the term fighting cancer. He's like, this isn't fighting with it, this is living with it. And that's what living with a terminal illness looks like. And I think sometimes in church circles, it can be kind of uncomfortable to talk about things that are almost inevitably going to go quite badly wrong. Because at least for myself, I know a couple of people who have survived terminal cancer and who went into remission, and that terminal wasn't so terminal, and that's been amazing. And so I do think there's absolutely a space for those celebration stories as well. But for myself, something I've learned a lot from is living in a space of uncertainty with those kind of things.
Tell me about processing for Jen. Here's mom who has raised you. This is mommy. What are your thoughts concerning what she's living with? And if you don't mind sharing with the audience, how did you decide, well, mom has this process going on. How did you decide to keep going? Like, live, do your goals, take care of yourself. What does that look like?
That is Gen processing. Interesting. I think it creeps into my brain in different ways. I am how many thousand miles away? 3,000 miles away from my family at the moment. And so there isn't a lot in my day-to-day, everyday life that needs to remind me of these things. Before this, I was living in London, and before that in Edinburgh. So it's been a long time since I've lived at my parents' house. I think the reality of the situation can be brought home in so much sharper relief whenever I visit home again. I see, oh, interesting, our kettle has changed. It's no longer one that you have to pick up to pour. It's got a kind of winch on it so that you can turn it, because if you can't carry heavy things, that's a problem. And so like little bit by bit, furniture has snuck into our home that helps with kind of assisted living. And so little things like that are more obvious being there. Otherwise, the way that we keep in touch is phone calls. Every few days we have a catch up, and depending on how she's feeling will depend on how long we can talk for. But my mum is a social scientist. I grew up to be a social scientist. She's the reason I do what I do. I want to be like my mum when I grow up, that she's just fab. And so one of our favorite things to do is to phone and I tell her what I found. For someone whose life after COVID had to stay pretty small because she can't afford to get sick. People who go off and do things are also a source of some it's hard to watch everybody else get to keep living in different ways. I think the FOMO she experiences is enormous. But it's also, I bring her along with me in so many different ways. It's the biggest compliment when someone says, you look like your mum, you sound like your mum, you're doing what your mum does. That's really special. And so I think processing, it is a good question. For example, in the last week, I've been having bad dreams. I wake up in the morning and I reach over, and the first thing I do is check my phone because I'm convinced something bad happened in my dream. And if I can open my phone and make sure that everything's okay, then it's all right. And so I wonder whether that's because a couple of weeks ago we found out that it spread to lungs. That's a big step. It's like, okay, cool. This is one of the ways that my brain takes in this information, because while I'm running around in the day-to-day, it's so busy. But at night it comes creeping back. And so I think just making space for those things to happen, having someone to talk to about it is super important. I would not have got through with my sanity as intact as it is, albeit that is small, without the help of people who hold my sadness, who make space for that. And permission to come here. Again, it's so special to invite people into your life in different ways. And I think that's a two-way street. I get invited into my mum's space whenever she needs a hand, or whenever she says, come and stay, come and visit. That's a privilege. What a gift to get to go and do those things. And there will be a time when that will be more full-time, and I will go home and stay there for a while and help out. But for the moment, we're not there yet. And so I think also recognizing that this is a process. Hospice is available at some point. When that happens, there's a right time for that, but we're not there yet. And so it has been a period of figuring out how to live in this uncertain space. And there have been times I've said, no, I can't do something. And there have been other times when I've said yes. And that's kind of a lot of it feels like making up as I go along. There's no hard and fast rule for what you say yes or no to. For example, some friends are making a plan for what to do over the summer holidays. And it's like, oh, I make a plan 2 weeks before I do anything because I don't know what's happening with mum. Right. That's been how it is in our family for the last 5 years. And so little methods like that, but being able to communicate with each other is a saving grace. And with friends outside of it who can kind of hold your hand a little bit and be like, I'm not in it with you. I don't understand, but I see you. And if you need a sofa to crash on that's a little bit further away so you get some brain space, come here. So that's been...
Talk to me about the moment when you decided, okay, I know my mom is going through this, but I'm going to make this decision to do this. What was in that moment for somebody who may be battling with that right now, feeling the compassion, feeling the overwhelmness, feeling the hurt for their loved one, could be family, friend, or whoever, and they're like, I can't leave because if I leave... What was that moment like for you?
I wish I could say it was a moment. I think it's a perpetual reasoning. Like finding out, again, about spread to the lungs was like, oh, okay, do I need to go home? How long would it take me to get there? Suddenly thinking about a contingency plan springs into mind again. But I have to recognize it as being my effort to exercise control in a situation that I don't have control in. And one of the most powerful things I read in one of my favorite books, written by an author in 1995 who was dying of cancer. It's a book about how she responded to it. And I read it before my mum got sick with this, which was such a blessing. But she writes, we think that control is being able to make sure that we know the outcome, make sure that we can affect the outcome. She was like, I think control is taking in and letting be. And hearing that was like, oh, okay, my job is to take in and let be. So I'm going to make my plans. And if my plans fall apart, take it and let it be. If I go and spend a year in America, amazing, take it and let it be. And my job is to respond to the circumstances with as much good grace as I can muster, not necessarily have any idea where I'm going or what I'm doing. So
in your story, you have shown us tools of patience, setting boundaries, self-care, self-awareness, being honest with your family, speaking about your feelings, setting your place, going for your goals, with still loving your family. Communication is key. You hear that with everything you're saying. I communicate with my family. I communicate with my mom. I communicate. So if there was one thing you can tell the audience, this is one thing I want you to take away from this, what would it be?
Can I have two? Two short ones. Thank you. Surround yourself with people who keep you sane. Yep. The other would be recognize your limitations.
I like that.
You do not have to fix it. Yes. You are not going to be the one who cures cancer, but you might be the one who holds someone's hand. Yeah. And that's enough. That absolutely is enough.
Oh, I love that. We talk about the savior complex.
Yes.
So I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your story. Thank you for watching. I'm asking you to please, please, please share this story. And if you like, please comment. We'll add on to our Instagram. Make sure you follow natasha.richards.coach. We go to our website, empoweredme.com. I'm saying all these things while my media manager is looking at me because I don't remember all the things I'm supposed to say, but make sure you follow us, okay? And share. All right, talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks, Jen.